Hello, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to do another grief share, I think, today, with, um, with everything that I guess, um, me and my husband have been dealing with lately. Um, we've really been struggling how to deal with, um, different relationships. I guess you could still narrow it down to family relationships, but, I've done a lot of videos about how to deal with family and um it's just an ongoing issue. I think that's the problem. You just never really uh get it to a place where it's you feel okay. It seems like well, at least that's how my life is. um and you know part of part of the problem is, when we decided to have a child, um a lot of the dynamics that we had put in place had to change. Um, and initially, I was hoping that that wasn't the case, but there's just been so many things that happened. Um, we've had to kind of go into our um, our family relationships again and reevaluate it. And we're still learning. We still don't really know what it should or shouldn't be. I think that's what's so hard. But my frustration mainly is, when you get to certain points in relationships, um, and I think I talked about this before, but when you get into certain points in relationships, it can kind of it could be hard to figure out how to move forward. Um, there's several ways to handle it. Um, some people, they just get so frustrated that they stop talking to their parents. Um, some people um, have a certain line of communication with their parents, and they're just able to talk and tell them what's bothering them. Um, and then a lot of times you have to just uh, cut back on communication, or stop seeing family as much. Um, and I tend to think that, you know, just based on some different things in the Bible, that it really is better not to have too close of a relationship with your parents once you get married. Um, I feel like God wants us to focus on our spouse most of all, but our families don't really seem to understand that very well, and the I think, well, part of the problem with getting married is, if you marry somebody who, I guess, you love and respect and really value their opinion, a lot of times they can help you see things that you didn't see before. Sometimes they don't do it appropriately. I've heard people talk about how, their spouse gets mad at their in-law because um, and it doesn't and they don't really fix it or know how to talk about it. But um, a lot of times when we get married, we could see things with our parents that were actually bothering us, that we didn't know were bothering us. And we have to have kind of a different life when we're single, because um, we're not trying to necessarily please somebody else or spend time with somebody else. So that whole dynamic really changes things. I saw myself really change after I got married, because my husband was able to show me a lot of things that were actually bothering me about my family, and I didn't want to tolerate them anymore. I tolerated them before because um, I just felt like, um, this is how this person is. Um, and I do think you still have to accept that end of it, but you don't have to tolerate a person's behavior if it's hurting you. And that's how I felt about a lot of my, I guess I'll just say my mother's behavior. Um, I've seen some things in all my parents' behaviors. My mom is married to somebody else. She was married to my dad, and my dad's married to somebody else now. So I feel like I kind of have four parents sometimes, and I tend to see. Well, I've seen a lot more problems in my parents since I've got married. So um, there's that end of it, which makes me automatically act different around them because I don't want to tolerate the behaviors that I used to tolerate, and you can't really just talk about that with them. Um, I've tried a little bit, and I don't really think that they understand. Um, but then, there's also the end where your spouse starts to, talk about things that the parents are doing to them that could create issues within the relationship as well, and it could create basically um, trying to make a change. I mean, you have to make a change to me in the relationship with your parents when you get married. So, so to me, it's very hard on everybody to make the change. Um, I think even though we understand that we have to make a change, we don't really like the way that people make the changes. Um, so that's really my frustration. Um, Me and my husband have run into a lot of problems with our parents, and we just don't really know how to move forward with it. Um, it's hard to just feel like you just can't see the person. You want to talk to them. You feel like I should be able to talk to this person, but it's just not that simple. And you kind of understand your family dynamic enough to know that it's not really going to go anywhere. So um, I think that's a hard one too. I've seen just myself in the last couple months. I've seen some some serious issues, I guess, on I'll just say my dad's side. And I just knew that there was nothing I could do about it. I did everything that I could, and I knew that there was nothing else I could do. So um, I've had a hard time trying to figure out what the solution is, what I should or shouldn't do. Should I talk to my dad about the things he did that bothered me towards my husband? Should I? I mean, I automatically know I'm probably only going to see him once a year. Is it just something you just don't even bother talking about? And just next time you see him, you just realize, well, I'm just seeing this person for, you know, a couple of days and that's it or whatever. Um, it's just so hard to know what to do when it comes to family. Because you have to have these relationships for years. Um, you don't really know how to navigate it, and I don't think that there's anybody that can really tell you how. You just gonna have to make a decision and see what happens. See how everybody reacts, but um, I do think it's most of the time ends up just creating more distance between family. I think that's where it usually just ends. Um, my husband was kind of saying, well, once you get to a certain age, it's just kind of, you know, getting borrowing things from your parents, or they give you gifts, or that's about the only thing that happens in the relationship. And I think that's probably true. Um, you just don't have a close relationship because it's probably supposed to be with your spouse instead. But um, but like I said, it's hard to know the balance. It's hard to know how close you should be with your parents because a lot of relationships look different. That's another thing. And every dynamic is um, is different. So you kind of have to figure it out on your own what works best for you. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. And I thank you for watching. Have a nice day.